All right, so aligning making money with creating value. This is the ultimate question we all have, that everyone has, is how do I align making money, me having financial success with caring about and helping my patients? Like, how can those two things coexist? And the answer is not only can they coexist, but the money that you are paid is directly representative of the value you are creating for others. If you do this right, we're not trying to trick anyone. We're not trying to cheat anyone. We are trying to become so exceptionally valuable to our patients that they are glad to pay us everything that we are charging and more. And it becomes a question and a challenge. That's why I phrase it as a question here, which is, oh man, I am not charging enough, or I want to charge more, or I feel like I'm charging more than I should. What do I do? Be better. Use that as fuel to be better. And this is why I think we have an amazing opportunity in private practice to be exceptional clinicians, because there really, just to be honest, does not exist this pressure if you have an academic job or in an HMO, you work at Kaiser, or what, really any job, because you probably get paid the same regardless of how well you do. And of course, we all want to do a good job, but there's the incentive structure there is to just do good enough, like show up, do good enough. You don't have any time to be exceptional. In private practice, we have the time to be exceptional, and we should strive for that. And really, in private practice, not charging enough is a coping strategy for not pushing yourself to become better. Don't trick yourself that it's like, no, I'm sliding because I really care and I want to be a good person and I'm a martyr. Like, no, you're not. You're afraid. You're afraid, which is totally fine. We all start off afraid in the beginning, but we try to avoid avoidance strategies. I mean, you would say the same thing to a patient who has an anxiety disorder and they're avoiding something. You'd say, well, you need to expose yourself to the thing. Well, you got to practice what you preach. If you're afraid of charging because you're afraid you're not good enough, well, then charge and then figure out how to be better. So really, if you are undercharging, you're like not pushing yourself to become better. And you shouldn't do that. Average fees, average doctor. There's nothing wrong with average. I mean, by definition, most people are average. An average doctor is still pretty much exceptional because of the amount of training we have to go through and the ethics and professionalism we're all taught. But yeah, if you want to be average, like, to me, I think we can do better than that. I want to be in the top however many percentile. I want to create an exceptional experience for my patients and have an exceptional impact. So I charge high fees, and that drives me to become better. So common misperceptions about making money in medicine. I mean, so I think I might have covered these elsewhere, but it just warrants repeating, is that number one, you're selling out. Like, this is the voice that's going to be in your head from people who were your supervisors in an academic setting, probably in your training. Oh, you're going to be one of those private practice psychiatrists. Oh, yeah, I know all about that. You care more about making money than about helping patients. You won't be a good doctor because you'll just be catering to patients, because who would pay you money unless you're just enabling them and prescribing benzos and stimulants and being available at all hours and whatever. And then, oh no, you're like fee for service. Well, you are contributing to a problem of lack of accessibility for mental health services. You're the problem. Here's the truth. The world is a better place when we all do what we love, when we all do what we're called for. Yeah, the system would not work if every single person wanted to be a fee for service, integrative, private practice psychiatrist, but it definitely doesn't work the other way. If there were only academic institutions, the insurance model, and there couldn't be anything else, there would be a huge swath of the population not served by that. I know because those are the patients who end up coming to me. No one pays high fees to see a psychiatrist to get a service they could get covered by insurance. They see us because they cannot get the service and the experience and the positive benefit from those other options as they can get from us. Like, that's why people come to see us. And this is kind of what people who don't do private practice, I think, don't really understand, or they're in academic settings, community settings, and they're doing something that's really important, but they don't understand that there's a bunch of patients that their system does not serve, and we serve them. And here's the thing. If you charge the people who can afford it, you can have a sliding scale or see some patients for free who can't. You can do whatever you want. I mean, there's a lot of people who can afford it, and you charge them a lot, which is fair. And then people who can't, and you really want to help them, see them for free. That's what I do. I don't even slide. I just see them for free. You can set up a different system however you want to do it, but we can have a really big impact. And just to get this out of the gate, some mental obstacles to charging high fees, apart from what I've already discussed, is, look, would you be willing to pay someone what you're charging? And this is not, there's some forgiveness for this in the beginning, because in the beginning, the limiting factor in your life as you're starting is going to be money. As you get full, which you will, the limiting factor in your life will not be money, it will be time. But until then, yeah, you probably couldn't afford to pay you. However, if you have this mindset, kind of a hoarding mindset with money, and you nickel and dime everyone you hire, and you don't pay your bills, and you don't fulfill your financial obligations, or you're just always trying to bargain for everything, then you're going to have a pretty big mental obstacle to charging high fees. You have to act with integrity, and you have to be consistent, or else you're going to have some serious cognitive dissonance. You're asking someone who's paying you to be value conscious and not cost conscious. So in your life, are you value conscious and not cost conscious? Are you trying to get the cheapest deal, or are you trying to get the best or high quality? Again, in the beginning, you're just not going to have the money to do that, which is fine. But at some point you will, and you have to act in a way that's congruent with the value you are trying to communicate to your patients. You have to be consistent, or else that's a huge mental block people have. All right, figuring out your value proposition. So I keep talking about value, you make money because you provide value and blah, blah, blah. But then there's a very reasonable question people have. Well, what does that even mean, value? What is value? It's kind of amorphous. Well, a value proposition is the ways in which we provide value to our patients that make us worth our fees. And let me say some specific examples of value. Now, I'm going to start with examples that I do not advise. And this is what people get terrified about when they do private practice, or what colleagues in other systems judge us for because they imagine this is what it's like. But one group of ways to provide value is just having no boundaries, being available at all hours, catering to a patient's every whim. I'll tell a brief story. I'm in Los Angeles, and I briefly flirted with the idea of being a psychiatrist to celebrities. I mean, and I say that not I had celebrities banging down my door to see me, but this is an area where there's a lot of people in the entertainment industry, and I had some supervisors who worked kind of in that area. And so I had some connections where my approach to anything is, if I focus and work hard enough, I can achieve it. So I was like, maybe I'll look into that. But honestly, working with celebrities, this is your value proposition. You might as well be their assistant. They just want to call you whenever. They don't even call you. Their assistants call you and are give me these medications, catering to every whim, prescribing whatever controlled substance the patient wants, enabling and coddling immaturity and bad behavior. I'm not saying, so now I'm talking just in general, not about celebrities, but in psychotherapy, not challenging. This is one way to provide value. Patients will pay more to just get a controlled substance prescribed to them. However, this is not how I'm advising you provide value. You do not have to do any of this. I have plenty of boundaries. I do not take after hours calls. I prescribe controlled substances when I feel like they are warranted, and that's it. And I see the kind of patient population that doesn't want to be coddled. They want to be challenged in therapy. They want to make progress. They want it to be an active process. Here are some ways to provide value that I advise, and these are just examples. So, convenience and efficiency of the practice. Is it easy to schedule appointments? Is it easy to get refills? Is it easy to get in touch with you? Like, do you respond to your messages in a relatively prompt manner? Like, if there's an issue with a pharmacy, which happens all the time, like you send a prescription, but they don't get it, or there's some whatever, and you have to make a call. Like, do you take care of that? I mean, speaking as someone who gets, because of my cancer history, I get a lot of medical care. It just drives me freaking crazy when I can't get in touch. I'm like, I just need this refill. Why am I calling like 6 people? Or actually, to be honest, it doesn't really happen to me in my medical care much, but it happens to me with my cats. I'm like, I just want the flea medicine refilled. Why is this so difficult? Just refill the flea medicine. Why am I calling all these, 6 people and then my cat actually needs to see you and you won't see him for 3 weeks? And then, I don't know. So it's a problem I have with my vet right now. So if you are just like, everything is seamless for patients in terms of this, that's a value add. Offering specialized diagnostic and treatment modalities. And this is going to be very appealing to patients who come to you in a functional practice. But do you offer functional lab testing or even just basic lab testing? A lot of psychiatrists never order labs. So if you like I kind of do a little bit of primary care. So I have patients, if they don't have primary care doctors, I'll order screening, lipid panels, and hemoglobin A1C. And in certain situations, I'm prescribing birth control because they're on a medication that, they don't want to get pregnant and maybe they can't get in to see an OB-GYN for a while. I'm like, no problem. I'll take care of that. And so access to pharmaceutical grade supplements. I'm going to have a module on that. That's a huge value add, because if you're just saying, hey, patient, I recommend magnesium. And they're like, well, what kind of magnesium? What dose? And where do I buy it? And you're like, I don't know. If you can give all those specifics and you can get them access to the best quality supplements, that's a value add. Do you have the knowledge and ability to incorporate holistic strategies effectively into the treatment plan? Like, one of the things patients really like about me is I create kind of like a whole comprehensive program. And I'm like, we're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're going to do it in this order. It's like very strategic. That's the way my brain works. It's okay if yours doesn't. You can have a different value add, but that is appealing to patients. And then time. I mean, so again, this is something that's not really available if you see a psychiatrist in like an insurance system, because the psychiatrist in that situation probably wants to take a lot of time with patients, but doesn't have the luxury. So having enough time during appointments to review things carefully, discuss treatment plans, answer questions, let the patient speak uninterrupted, etc. Like I do, my intake process is so efficient that basically I've already gotten an HPI prior to even seeing them, through my initial phone call, through the intake forms that I review in detail. And I will just let the patient speak uninterrupted for like 45 minutes. And they get to the point. I mean, they're not just telling a meaningless, meandering story. We're kind of taught to interrupt people relatively early on to make sure like we're asking our screening questions. But our patients are not dumb. Like, they understand the basic information you need to know, and they'll get there. So that's a value add. Another ways to provide value that are advised, your special sauce. So I talk about this a lot in Q&A calls, in other modules that I have, other videos, but you should be communicating on your website, on your social media if you have it, in your phone calls with patients, not necessarily phone calls with patients because you want that to be about the patient, but it's only helped me that I share things about myself on my website and my blog and stuff like that. It humanizes me. Like, so how can you bring your personality, your special sauce, what makes you unique, your unique experiences into the treatment relationship in a way that's not about you, but it's helpful and healing for the patient? You know, because I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, patients like knowing that, and they like seeing me because they'll say like, I feel like you get it. And this is people who aren't even cancer survivors, but they have some other trauma. They're like, you've had a hard life or you've experienced hard things. Like, you get this. And it's only helped me. And people get scared, but you really, the more you figure out a way to deftly communicate your special sauce, the better of a practice you will have, and the more your patients will be attracted to you. A positive experience is another way to provide value. So it's the intake process you have set up from everything, from how they first come to see you, your website, your online profile, to the initial phone call, to the scheduling of the initial appointment, to the intake forms, to the initial appointment, everything prior to you sitting down with the patient in your office or on video. There's all that build trust and rapport, even before you see the patient for the first time. That's valuable. I mean, so that's one of the things I try to teach you, or I will teach you how to do in future videos, which is you build rapport from the very, very first step. And in that way, patients almost feel better by the time you actually see them for the appointment. They're like, I'm just really excited. Like, I already feel better. I feel like I'm going to get better. I feel hopeful. That's a value add. Being a normal, compassionate, and caring human being is a value add, unfortunately. Now, it's kind of a stereotype that psychiatrists are weird. Like, psychiatry has a marketing problem. First of all, it's this kind of, in my opinion, ridiculous thing that is taught in psychoanalytic psychotherapy, that you should be a blank slate. I think maybe that's changed. And also, it's totally fine for patients to understand that that's what they're signing up for and they like it. It's another thing to have that be your baseline way of being with patients. It's effing weird. I had a therapist in college who was like that, and I'll never forget this. It completely turned me off from this style of therapy. But I was super depressed, and I was like crying to her, and she was just like a blank slate, like she's staring at me. And I was like, you know, sometimes like I feel like you don't even care about me. And instead of saying like, no, I do care, like a normal person, she said something like, why would it be important to you if I cared? Which, now that I've learned some about psychoanalytic, psychodynamic therapy, I understand what she was doing there. But I was like 19. That was a really dumb thing to say. That was like not reading the room, you know? So if a patient signs up for that and they know what they're getting, then absolutely use those strategies. But just be normal. Like, be a normal, compassionate person. And that is a value add. I actually have patients, when they call me and they've read my website, they say like, oh yeah, you just seem so normal. You seem normal. So it's appealing to patients.